Okay, you tell my family I love them, I'm gone. That's just the craziest thing I've ever heard. That don't even sound like nothing that he would even say. My son wouldn't say that. He wouldn't say that.
I think about who Vic is, who he was. You feel me? He wasn't suicidal or nothing.
It didn't make sense. He wasn't in that state of mind. You know, things was finally going for him, and he was telling me about his little girl.
His daughter and my daughter are 12 days apart. And he would literally be in the hospital with me waiting to go visit his child in the hospital. And I think that's the stage he was in with his life. Their responsibility of fatherhood took precedence over everything.
Greetings and welcome to another powerful edition of the Community Defender Talk Show. One powerful hour of truth in a day of falsehood. I'm your host, Brother Darrell Muhammad.
I'm Sister Deborah Muhammad, and welcome to the Community Defender Talk Show.
And of course, we are so glad that you have tuned in to tonight's program. We're going to try to give you the best of what we have to offer here on tonight's program. And as you know, we are dealing with a community always in crisis.
Right.
And what we are trying to do is to move our community by the transformation of the mind from crisis into triumph.
Right.
So what we're looking for is ultimately a victory of right over wrong. And that's what the Community Defender Talk Show is and has been about. Now, tonight's topic, we're going to be dealing with this subject of true leadership. One of the things that is counterfeited more often than money is leadership.
Right,
Leadership
right.
is a counterfeited thing very often. But what we have tried to exemplify and what we have tried to point to on the Community Defender Talk Show is real leadership. And, you know, Jesus talked about hirelings.
Right.
And he differentiated himself, the good shepherd, which would give their life for the sheep, from a hireling who's only in it, and when the wolf comes, the hireling leaves the sheep to be eaten by the wolf. And what we see people stepping up supposedly to be leaders, and yet and still they're nothing but hirelings, or they're looking to be hired by somebody to lead people in the wrong direction.
That's right.
Now, at a certain point, once we do our research, we're going to expose a couple people locally in Louisiana. We're going to make sure that we're actual and factual. But a lot of people use the struggle as a hustle,
Right. Right.
meaning that they go out with a threat of protest, and then they take money under the table and then lead everybody away from
That's right.
the protest for justice, and they pocket the money.
Right. Right.
That is a hustle that the enemies of our people are glad to participate in, because
Right.
it's easy to give one greedy person $30,000 or $40,000 than to open up the treasury of a city, which may be hundreds of millions of
Right.
dollars, and spread that pie out evenly. So a lot of times, paying off one or two people is very easy. One of the things that in the movie that dealt with the Deacons for Defense, when the Deacons for Defense put pressure on that town, they brought them in a room, and that was in the movie. And the white folks who were in the government, they said, "What is it that you all personally want? Personally, we don't want to give justice to the masses.
Right.
We want to be able to pay off a couple of people and make sure that you have your pockets fat, which is a lot easier and cheaper than the justice that the masses need."
Right.
So we all have to be aware of that as we talk about true leadership. True leadership has true love for the people. That is why we
That's right.
have consistently mentioned people like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable
Right,
Louis
right,
Farrakhan,
right,
Marcus Garvey,
Right.
Booker T. Washington. Those people actually had true love for the people that they were serving. And so that's what we have to roll with. Now, We're going to show you a clip, but I know you had something that you wanted to say, Sister Deborah.
Yes, sir. Well, absolutely. You know, when you were talking about the whole concept of people who are hustling in the name of protest and whatnot, and you mentioned the method by which they make their hustle. You said that they'll go all the way up to, you know, where the protest is about to flip sides and maybe something is about to happen, and then somebody from the outside will come and make them an offer they can't refuse. Well, in animal husbandry, they have this thing called a scapegoat. You know, a scapegoat. So the scapegoat actually leads the sheep up the little ramp to the slaughter. And right before the scapegoat goes into the slaughterhouse, it falls off to the side. And because sheep are so docile, they just, you know, easily led, that they just go straight on into the slaughter, but the one that leads them there just drops off to the side and then just leads another group at another time. So absolutely, you know, that false leadership is a dangerous thing, especially when you give somebody who really doesn't understand what the struggle is, really doesn't understand, like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, you give some of our people money, you know, or if it were reparations, they would take the reparations and misappropriate it. So you can't put, you know, the wolf in charge of, you know, the flock. And so a lot of these people that they're pretending to be leadership are really wolves in sheep clothing.
Well, you know, it's one of those unfortunate things that in the year 2018, we are seeing the very disgraceful spectacles of a lot of our would-be clergy who are bowing down, not only bowing down before our enemies, but begging to follow and begging to be near the enemies of the very people in their congregations. Now, recently, you know, we had another episode of a group of black pastors being called to the White House, and they were so happy as black pastors to be in the White House with the white president. And you know, we've said this numerous times on the Community Defender that some of you are not converted to Jesus Christ, you're converted to Jesus White, because Jesus Christ stands for justice and Jesus White is an apologist for an unjust system. And you got to know the difference between it. The thing I'm also going to say is that if your pastor is an Uncle Tom, he's not called to preach by God. God does not call Uncle Toms. If your pastor is a homosexual, he's not called by God, because God doesn't call homosexuals. If your pastor is a fearful and buck jumping, buck dancing type of person, they are not called by God, because God doesn't give you a spirit of fear. He gives you the courage that you need to get through your circumstance. So, you know, the reason that we have advocated courageous leadership is because it is exactly courageous leadership that and courageous fellowship that is going to get us to where we need to be. Now, I said that I was not going to deal with a certain item. All right. But I think I am going to deal with that item. And again, I love my people, and anybody that is trying to uplift the consciousness of black people, I love you and I want the best for you. But when it comes to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the divinity of his leadership, we can't really compromise on that.
Right.
We just can't. He has been preaching for 63 years. 63 years he has been preaching. he has survived numerous assassination attempts on his life. All right? And yet he has never backed down from the truth. Some of y'all have been threatened with losing your job and you punked out.
Right.
But he is under the threats against his life and yet stands strong. So that says to me that he's definitely not weak leadership. But a younger upstart, a brother who, again, I admire a lot of what he does and a lot of what he says. Dr. Umar Johnson mentioned in an interview the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he mentioned Reverend Al Sharpton. And he said that they are good spokesmen for our people, but they are not leaders. He said because leadership takes you to a certain place. First of all, I have to take issue with that. I have to take issue with anybody that says that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan does not have a direction that he wishes to take black people to, which is independence. The independence in every area of life.
You can look at the back of the Final Call newspaper. It lays out the program where he is taking us to.
Here's the thing. It does, but there's also been action.
Right.
Action taken in the form of farmland. We, of course, get shipments of our own beans, our own watermelons, our own produce that we produce on our farm. We have our own school system. We have things of our own.
We're importing fish from, I think, Peru. I'm not sure exactly where the fish comes from, but we have a wholesale buying program where we buy
all of these. But the point is that when you look at the 3-year economic program,
that's right.
You look at all of the funds, you look at the Millions More movement, there is a direction that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan is leading, and on more than one front.
That's right.
More than one front.
Yes.
So when you look at direction, when you look at the gang truces, when you look at the interaction with the people in the street to bring about peace, and that hard work that's going on, that's been going on for years, he has been working in the direction of unity and independence and the divine solution of God for many, many years.
Think about this when he when they were talking about bringing the National Guard into Chicago. You remember that a couple of years back? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, over 80 years old or young, went out and led the men of the FOI in the streets himself, so that he could begin to start, meeting with the people in the streets, meeting with the young brothers in the streets that had beefs with one another, showing them another way, showing them brotherly love. He led from the front line. He led by example by going out there and encouraging the pastors in their church and other organizational leaders to go out and meet with the young brothers in the street that we're trying to get away from. So in terms of leadership, he doesn't only talk the talk, he walks the walk.
No doubt about it. And so again, I love my brother. And again, I would never attack my brother. The only thing I'm doing is taking issue with what you said because it's not factually correct. Even where it refers to Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton has a direction.
That's right.
That he wishes to lead. We don't always agree with that direction. But Al Sharpton is more political in and secular in his thinking to a degree, with some spiritual under and overtones. But he definitely has a direction, and he definitely does work in the community. He definitely has put in work. Whether you like it or not, Al has put in work, and he's taken some difficult stands. He has refused, of course, to denounce certain people, that one of them being Minister Farrakhan. But the bottom line of it is that, but as a leader, you have to be a spokesperson too. You have to speak for the hurt and pain of your people as part of the leadership.
That's right.
But most of what the minister does is actually in private things that a lot of times people don't know. So
and people come to him for counsel. You
True.
have other leaders that come to the Honorable Minister Louis
And
Farrakhan.
as well as heads of states.
That's right.
You're talking about people who are over African countries, Asian countries, who call the Honorable Louis Farrakhan for advice because they see
That's right.
the divine guidance. So again, I love Dr. Umar Johnson. I hope that he is successful in establishing a college, and it would be wonderful with LeBron James having established an elementary school. You know, maybe we can get someone else to do the middle and high, and we get Dr. Umar to do the college, and we would, you know, it could be a wonderful thing to where everybody works together, one for the other. But in this is another one. Now he actually is doing some big things, brother LeBron James. Now the thing I want to point out, and of course that does represent real leadership. The thing I want to point out is, you know, the coverage that Bill Cosby got for 3 years, because people 30 years after they supposedly were felt upon, suddenly 30 years later said, I think he touched me. You know, after 30 years, after 20 years, didn't report it, and then so the machine got going. Those mostly false accusations with half-truths got more coverage from the media than a black man who puts $41 million as a down payment to educate his own people. That doesn't get the coverage that a white woman's accusation against a man who's 85 gets. So the media is absolutely biased and absolutely against the rise of truth and therefore the rise of our people. How in the hell can Gloria Allred and those other Zionist forces be out there talking only about, just talking about Bill Cosby in a negative light, but on the same, but keep in mind, Bill Cosby has spent even more money than LeBron James on education over the years, mostly collegiate, but he spent over $100 million on education. That part doesn't really get the coverage. What gets the coverage is the scandal that they try to create in destroying the legacy of a good man. Now, here's the thing, and I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm saying he's a good man. One of the things that LeBron is going to have to be careful of is the enemy attempting to destroy his legacy over time because of the positiveness of what he has done and is doing. You have to, because they always want to mess up a beautiful picture. Barack Obama is going to have to worry about the same thing. It's a beautiful picture. They're going to try to mess that picture up in the media. Now, I wanted to mention this, because we're talking about, and I wish it was centered, but this is the tweet from Donald Trump. LeBron James was just interviewed by the dumbest man on television, Don Lemon. I think Hannity is dumber, much dumber than Don Lemon.
Wow.
Okay, and I think that what's the guy who had the factor who was kicked off? I think O'Reilly's much dumber.
Wow.
Much less intelligent than Don Lemon. All right, and he said he made LeBron look smart, which isn't easy to do. I like Mike.
Wow.
I like Mike. Now let's analyze that. He's talking about Michael Jordan. Now here's the thing that as a black man you have to look at. Michael Jordan reportedly, I wasn't there when the check was cut, invested $10 million in the prison industrial complex, in prison company, reportedly. I don't know, I wasn't there. But we know that at minimum of $41 million, LeBron invested in education. We know that LeBron is on the right side of all of the political and social issues, whereas Michael Jordan avoids them, right? So, but the president likes Michael, who's not active in social issues, who doesn't invest in education, at least not to the level that LeBron, but the person who opens up an elementary school, he doesn't like him. Now, I want you to think about who he chooses to say he likes and what's the motivation behind it. He wants you to follow Mike, the shoes, the $200 shoes, the Jordans. He wants you to follow that image of a happy-go-lucky dribbler that runs around with his tongue hanging out and slam dunks balls, but with no social substance behind it. Because, like he said, I'm not going to say anything because Republicans buy tennis shoes too. Okay? So the man who funds education is not liked. The person who reportedly funds prison is liked. Now, that should let you know right there that he is not for what is in the best interest of our people and what is in the best interest of truth itself. He's trying to get you to follow the wrong man. Now, Michael Jordan has come out because a lot of these athletes, whether Colin Kaepernick, have literally raised the bar.
Right.
To where now Jordan has been forced, even though he's scared, he's worth almost $2 billion, but he still is scary. He has come out and had to say something about the police shooting and so on and so forth. So the point is that when one man steps out, it forces the hand and raises the standard for everybody. And it may very well be that this is going to be something that continues with other celebrities.
Beautiful.
And it would be wonderful if, we got a lot of people that's making a lot of money.
That's right.
And I don't want to call anybody out, but our beautiful sister Beyonce is making a lot of money.
Right.
There's a lot of HBCUs, Sister Beyonce, that could use some of that money for their engineering and physics and science programs, which we don't have enough of our people involved in. So I'm just laying some stuff out there. You got a lot of things that could be done. The other thing is that they have always tried to give you the image of what they like, but understand that LeBron, and if LeBron is not being given the coverage, know that the media is absolutely wicked. That man who stopped the shooter in the Waffle House, that black man who stopped that man from killing more people by disarming him, was not hailed on Fox News as the big-time hero. But Darren Wilson, who shot Michael Brown in the back, was more hailed as a hero and shot him in the back of the head, chased him down, shot him in the back of the head. He was more hailed as a hero. That's the kind of thing that you and I, as black people, have to analyze, and we have to look at it. All right, I'm a caller. We're gonna get to you in just a second. Now, you had something you wanted to say?
I
Before go ahead, Queen. Before we go to the clips, because I
Well,
want to do a comparison contrast.
Of course, you know that I may take a different perspective of the same issue that you have, and one of my perspective is that, oftentimes we become reactionary, and we feel like we've been slighted because white folks don't give us the opportunities that they may give their own. But in truth, the reality of it is that we must begin to start creating our own media outlets.
That's right.
Now we are living in the age of the internet. I mean, there is anybody, can get your message out there. This is a time when if you get the right person to see the message, you're trending. You could be trending all over the world, and you have no filter by anybody. And so, yes, they may not be covering our news, but you know what? We have the ability to cover ours. And that's one of the
Final Call newspaper.
The Final Call newspaper.
Is
But
one of
this
those
is, let me
outlets.
go back to Bill Cosby. One of the issues with Bill Cosby is that, from what I understand, there was all this about him and his alleged sexual misdeeds was not something they say that was new in Hollywood. They said, I heard D.L. Hughley said that, it was commonplace that people knew. And of course, it was the culture. Once all of this started coming out, they found out this was the culture of Hollywood. So it was not unlike anything else that was going on with his counterparts. But because he was making, according to what I understand, a power move to purchase NBC, and he had the ability to do it. that is a dangerous black man that has an idea and has the money to make it happen. And so then what happens is that the corporate backed media begins to make their move against him because they hold our indiscretions in their pocket until the opportune time when they see the light come on in your mind and you get the money, and then they make the move against you. So I'm saying that to say, okay, so what if NBC and CBS, MSNBC, CNN, all of these media outlets don't report it? We can just start a trend right there on Twitter until the enemy, it is his internet, until he shuts it down. But it's going to be kind of hard for him to shut his own internet down. He may have just really created a bigger problem for himself in creating this avenue to get information out there. So I just want to, add balance to that.
Well, the thing I want to say on all of that is that I am always discouraging of our reliance on what is called mainstream media anyway, because I want them to know that the media is wicked and is ill motivated in what it does, so that we look toward ourselves as sources of media.
Right.
We have a lot of freelance media people.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
literally,
absolutely.
they run looking for information.
That's right.
So they can throw it on the web.
That's right.
They go and do research and so on and so forth. So you have like the director and the producer of the Community Defender Show. They just go get information and throw it out there on the media so that people will know what the heck is going on.
That's right.
That's the beauty of it. You can take charge. You can decide. You don't have to rely on your enemies for news, because keep in mind, ebony used to be, in every black household. But white folks, and nobody faulted them, didn't read ebony. They didn't read Jet. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That was something that we read, something that we were into, and which is fine. It's okay for us to have our own sources of information and media, and that disagree with the mainstream. We can get our own. And the thing we've always said, white folk are not gonna read the Final Call and use the Final Call and Ebony and Jet or the Pittsburgh Courier or the Chicago Defender for their news. They're gonna use the sources of news that white folks use, which may be the New York Times, which may be the Chicago Sun-Times, which may be the Houston Chronicle, or the other one in Atlanta. The bottom line, or the Atlanta Constitution. Whatever they use is fine. We need our own source, which we do have a lot of them, but we need to rely on those rather than the other sources, and we need to support our own. A lot of us, and I'm just going to say a lot of us, have spent, maybe $200 this year on cognac, but we may not have a $30 membership in the NAACP, and we may not have a $15 membership in Cobra. But we spent a whole bunch of money on liquor, tobacco. We've made decisions that were not only in the detrimental to our health, but we haven't appropriated any money for the onward struggle and uplift of our people. We just sit there and look crazy, and then when something happens, here we are reacting like you said. But we need to be doing things every day. And again, an NAACP membership is not an expensive thing. It certainly costs less than a pair of Jordans.
Right.
And it enables the people to have a greater voice in something that is primarily funded by corporate America funds in NAACP and Urban League, which means that they, because they bring the money, are able to control the movement more so than the common man every day. Now, there are some good grassroots chapters, but at the national level, I just perceive those people as being extremely scary and compromised by the money and the salaries that they're being paid on that board, and the so-called prestige of being on the board of that organization. They're hooked on that. But what I wanted to do, I believe we have something with Darrell Scott over there with Trump, and I wanted to play that. Can we play that one? And then I wanted to play the one with Minister Farrakhan. And then we're going to do a comparison and contrast. Hold on, caller. We're going to be coming to you in just a second, but we got to handle some business before we come to you. Go ahead and run that if you will.
Pastor Gerald Scott, I've had the honor and privilege to work with then candidate, now President Trump, and to observe him behind the scenes and have a number of personal conversations with him. And people ask me, why do I defend him so vociferously? And I say it's easy for me to do because I know him. And he's shown me his heart, and I know he has a heart for all Americans. And I will say this administration has taken a lot of people by surprise, and it's going to surprise you guys even more because this is probably the most proactive administration regarding urban America and the faith-based community in my lifetime. I'll be 60 years old in December. But when I think back on, I mean, I use good hair dye. And I've got a great makeup artist. But to be honest, this is probably going to be and I'm going to say this at this table, the most pro-black president that we've had in our lifetime because, and I try to, analyze the people that I encounter. This president actually wants to prove something to our community, our faith-based community and our ethnic community. The last president didn't feel like he had to. He felt like he didn't have to prove. He got a pass. This president this administration is probably going to be more proactive regarding urban revitalization and prison reform than any president in your lifetime. We work together, give them a chance. Don't pay any attention to these guys back here. And I promise you, we will do something. This administration will continue to make history. It's going to be a lot of positive change. Great things are on the horizon. I promise you.
I have to say one thing about Bill. So I didn't know him at all, and I'm watching one of the, I would say, unfriendly groups of broadcasters, to put it nicely. And I said, "Who is that guy?" He was destroying them. I say, "Who is he?" Then I saw him 2 or 3 times, and I said, I have to meet him. But I want to just thank you. You have been incredible. You are some voice. And when I heard, okay, tell him, how long are you married? Tell me.
39 years.
Okay.
38 years.
So I thought he was like 35 years old. Okay. So did you. Exactly. And then he said, say hello to my wife. He said, I've been married 39 years. I said, you're married 39 years. I thought you were 35 years old, right? You're doing a good job. You're obviously doing it right because you look great, and we really appreciate it.
We're going to be all right.
Right from the beginning.
Gerard's been working with us a lot. And,
Great.
He used to live on my street when he was a kid. In the same city. Yeah. So.
Small world. Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Mr. President.
Get your money, man. Get your bread up. Gotta do it for yourself. Know you fed up. Get your study on. All praise be to God. Stay read up. I never let up. Everyone that I'm around already know what I'm about. Build heaven on earth. Gotta catch up Elijah, Muhammad Ali, Farrakhan, Malcolm X. Now, man, what about me?
You didn't go to Egypt, where Sadat and Begin made peace. A Muslim and a Jew. Didn't go to Jordan, where King Hussein and Shimon Peres have made an accord. Didn't go to Israel, where Arafat and Rabin finally shook hands, instead of just going to a lot of dictatorships. To go to a democratic country where Jews and Muslims are beginning to reconcile might have been a wonderful sign for you, Minister Farrakhan, to show to the world.
If they're on the road to reconciliation, that's fine. But, you know, there's also the possibility of my being assassinated overseas. Egypt right now is a place where it's very, very volatile. And I thought that in that surrounding, it might not be the best place for me at this time. If I went to Israel, I don't think Israel would be the best place for me to be at this time, considering the view that most Jews have of Louis Farrakhan.
You go to Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it is, it could be the most corrupt nation in the world, Minister Farrakhan.
Oh, now, Mr. Wallace.
It is the most corrupt nation that I have ever covered. I've been there 25 years ago, and I've been there as recently as last year.
Fine. So what? 35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now, here's America, 226 years old. You love democracy, but there in Africa, you're trying to force these people into a system of government that you just have accepted 30 years ago. Black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them get out of that condition. But America should keep her mouth shut wherever there's a corrupt regime, as much hell as America has raised on the earth. No, I will not allow America, or you, Mr. Wallace, to condemn them as the most corrupt nation on earth when you have spilled the blood of human beings. Has Nigeria dropped an atomic bomb and killed people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Have they killed off millions of Native Americans? How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet, because with that much blood on America's hands, you have no right to speak. I will speak because I don't have that blood on my hand. Yes, there's corruption there. Yes, there's mismanagement of resources. Yes, there is abuse. There's abuse in every nation on earth, including this one. So let's not play holy to moralize on them. Let's help them.
I'm not moralizing. I'm asking a question, and I got an answer.
Why would you put it as the most corrupt regime in the world? That doesn't make sense.
Can you think of one more corrupt?
Yeah, I'm living in one. I'm living in one. Yes, you've done a hell of a thing on this earth, so you should not be the one to talk. You should be quiet when it comes to moral condemnation, in my judgment. I didn't mean to be so fiery.
No, that's good. That's good.
That's my passion.
Get your money, man. Get your bread up. Gotta do it for yourself. Know you fed up. Get your study on. All praise be to God. Stay read up. I never let up. Everyone that I'm around already know what I'm about. Build heaven on earth. Gotta catch up Elijah, Muhammad Ali. Farrakhan, Malcolm X. Now, man, what about me?
Pastor Gerald Scott.
And of course, that was 2 clips, 2 different black men in leadership speaking with white folks.
Come on.
Now, which one do you think actually had? I know it's a family show.
He went to Walmart.
But who is it that you think had balls? Which one would you want your son to grow up to be like?
Come on now.
It's clear that the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, who told the arrogant Mike Wallace to just be quiet when it comes to moral condemnation. But now Darrell Scott, who I'm sorry that he has the first name Darrell, because I don't, again, because I don't want to be, at all associated with him. But the bottom line of it is, he not only didn't challenge him in his arrogance, he simply was there like a sycophant, which is servile flatterer who just sits there kissing his butt and doing all kind of other things.
Saying I think that
and call him pro-black.
The most pro-black administration president in the history.
I ain't never seen nobody kiss that man. The man had his lips all the way between both gluteus maximus of Donald Trump so deep. There's no way that he is connected to God in any significant way.
Look, Donald Trump looked like he was thinking.
He was shocked. And how much that man was sucking his butt.
Look at this Uncle Tom.
He was blown away.
He works at a funeral home. That's why he looks so good.
Man,
okay. He's embalmed.
I mean, it's amazing. That whole thing. So, you got untrue leadership that we showed you first. And then you have the true leadership of a real black man that's going to speak for and stand up for the people and what's right. And that's just what it is. And that's why I'm rolling with Don Louis Farrakhan. I'm just going to tell you.
All day.
I mean, the contrast of that, there's no comparison. One man who is bowed all the way down to the enemy of black people, and another man challenging the enemies of black people. Hey, who should I roll with?
Yeah,
so we just rolling with Sister Deborah. You go ahead and
that's good. Let's go to the caller.
All right, caller, go ahead. I know you've been waiting for a while. Go ahead, caller, Yeah, you're on the air with the Community Defender.
Yeah, how you doing, Brother Darrell?
I'm doing awesome, fantastic, mixed with a little bit of outstanding, sir, and yourself.
I'm doing fine, man. I was, I've been sitting back enjoying the show, but y'all said something, man, I had to respond to. I just had to respond to this, man. Donald Trump has a lot of nerve calling somebody dumb. Every time he opens his mouth, he's saying something stupid. He's so stupid that his own legal team does not want him to talk to the special prosecutor, Robert Mueller, and give definitions and stuff. This guy is real stupid, and he's been calling mostly black that disagree with him, in the media dumb, and he did that to Maxine Waters. So this guy has a lot of nerve calling people dumb. This is one of the dumbest presidents around. And, also, switching the subject for just a second, man. Y'all showing these clips of Minister Louis Farrakhan, man. Y'all know y'all gonna give white people a stroke or a heart attack showing these clips of this man, because this man is so knowledgeable and he's so articulate. Y'all know y'all to stop that. Y'all know y'all gonna give the white people out there listening a stroke or a heart attack, so y'all need to try to, I know y'all always on y'all game, but y'all know it's gonna happen, so keep that in mind. and also what I want to say is just y'all both doing an excellent job, and keep up the good work defending the community.
Thank you, brother. We definitely appreciate it. And keep in mind, you do not have to have a talk show to defend the community. You can defend the community right now. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air with the Community Defender.
How you doing, sir? This is Reverend Brown.
I'm doing awesome, Reverend Brown. How's everything going with you, good brother? So good to hear your voice.
Brother. Yes, sir. So proud to hear from you, a great leader like yourself. I'm doing pretty good, and I was thinking about what was going on in our nation today. It's really disturbing to see what's happening in our nation. As in regard to our leadership in our nation and how it's being played out in the press. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, we did show a video clip of somebody purporting to be a member of the clergy. And of course, they were just kissing Donald Trump's butt like you would not believe, absent all of the facts of how his attorney general is turning up the mandatory minimums against the black community, how he is going right back to those policies that were signed into law by another Southern racist by the name of Bill Clinton out of Arkansas, which many of us falsely believe was good for us, but he signed into law one of the most destructive policies ever to hit the black community since the actual policy of slavery itself. I think Bill Clinton was probably the worst president for black people, though he got the majority of our vote through trickery.
That's right.
But again, there was Darrell Scott kissing and just literally being very fallacious almost to Donald Trump.
Yes, sir. And let me just add and say, I want to say hi to your co-host, the intelligent, strong black woman that's sitting in with you. I just want to tell you hi today. I didn't know you were sitting there, but I just want to acknowledge you and tell you that I thank you for the leadership that you are showing this nation, my sister. So I just want to acknowledge you also.
Thank you, Reverend Brown.
Yes. Absolutely.
I want to say this, is that this is the same Reverend that attacked me on a local radio station, WGSO 990 AM, inviting me to a fist fight. Now, first of all, he said that if I called his name out again and say that he was a modern slave to Donald Trump in front of his face, that what all he would do to me. I don't think a respectable, intelligent person would have resort to violence because you approach them about their character and about the way they behave themselves in the public. First of all, he is supporting a known white supremacist in our nation. He's supporting someone who was afraid to denounce David Duke, the president. He did not want to denounce a known white supremacist, Richard Spencer. And so how can you say that the president of the United States is pro-black when this president has done everything in his power to destroy the black community? He lied about he's going to help Chicago. The crime rate started going up. There's no program. He stripped federal funds from Chicago. So when Darrell Scott and his cohort, I don't know the other ministers, to be honest with you, they just there sitting there for the HUD money. I know that they get these community development block grants from HUD.
That's right.
And Darrell Scott got in their ears and said, look, I can get all y'all a couple of million apiece. If y'all just show up at the White House, I guarantee you I can get y'all something in y'all pocket. So they basically were looking at the money situation deal and wasn't looking at what type of destructive message they will send to the black community. This is really a repeat of history, you know. And those who fail to learn from the past will repeat it, but they fail to learn that we're not supposed to collaborate with the enemy. And as far as meeting white supremacists, sitting down talking with them, that's no problem with me because I meet them any day, Brother Darrell, debate them, but I'm not going to agree with what they say. And if they invite me on their show, I might take that invite. It does not mean I'm sanctioning them and going to praise them and going to say how intelligent and how nice they are toward the black community. This is the problem I have with the black ministers. When they left there, they talked about Trump like a dog. But in front of his face, they grin and smile and talk to him with respect. Or the president, they're doing it for the money. That's really, we should not be selling out our race for a few dollars. Is that right?
That's
we should have more dignity than that, than to stoop that low and go back into the slave mentality just because somebody can give you a grant. That's not should be the mindset of the black leadership in this country today. We should be more stronger than that. You know, that's disrespecting Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's disrespecting Dr. King and Malcolm. It's disrespecting Brother Medgar Evers and many of those, Brother Huey P. Newton and A. Brown and Brother Stokely Carmichael, all of them who were before Fannie Lou Hamer, some of the sisters, Fannie Lou Hamer, Sojourner Truth. We're disrespecting the lives of our great ancestors and those who are living who have fought for our freedom. This is a total disrespect of them and the leadership that they provided us. Is that right?
That's right.
That is correct.
Disrespect the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
That's right.
You know, they just disrespect us as a black people from sitting there talking nice to him. I don't have nothing wrong with a group of clergy going to the White House talking to these racist devils. My problem is when they go to praising them, Brother Darrell and Sister. This was hurt me to see them stand there and butt dance and Uncle Tom and you know and stuff like that. We don't need to go back to the days when we begged the white man to help us survive in this nation. This is Reverend Brown taking responsibility for my own words. Take it out on me. We don't have to beg nobody. And I'm not ashamed to speak out. I speak the same way here. I speak on any other radio station, white or black. I don't change my tone because I go on a white radio station.
Absolutely.
No, I don't.
Absolutely.
I don't go on the right radio station and say certain things that I would say on a black radio station sometimes because the simple reason is that I might be taken out of context. And sometimes I go on there and I be straightforward with what I have to say. Racism is in this country. We know it never left. And that the American system of government is not for us. But I appreciate both of you. I love both of you for taking out the time and hearing me out. And as far as the new film that then come out, Sugar Town, regarding Victor White, I just want to say that I can't say nothing about a documentary I never saw. After I have looked at it and dissected it, I will come back and I will give my thoughts and my opinion on the documentary. I can concur with Brother Jay. He said, it's good, I'm going to take his word because I know he's a true leader. To that, add to that, the documentary should have shown Victor White's son, who was arrested that night, saying that his brother was trying to hide something on him or had a gun or something, say he was going to kill himself. I said that the truth, the total truth of what happened that night, was he afraid the police was going to kill him or whatever? All that should have been exposed. And also, Brother Darrell, it should have been exposed that the real leader was out there fighting this battle, constantly coming back and forth. Thank God for Brother Jay, Sister Khadija, and yourself and me. We fought this battle, TV, radio, on the ground, boots on the ground, whatever. However, if those who want to go around saying, oh, you know what, we did all the work, go ahead and praise yourself. We don't care. Look, we know that struggle never ends until you win. Is that right?
That's right, bro.
Struggle going to continue until we win this battle, until we overcome this oppressor, until we unite our people and start doing it for self. Assalamu alaikum and
Alaikum salam.
Sir.
Yes, sir. We thank you for your call, man. And of course, Reverend Brown, as usual, he brings some really, really high energy, as always. And it may very well be that in the very near future we'll have the brother on the program in person. Let's go ahead and take this other caller. Go ahead, caller.
How you doing? I know time's getting short, so I'll just make a couple quick comments. You know, I call in pretty frequent, and I'm a white man, and I can assure you there's nothing that Louis Farrakhan going to say to give me a stroke. I mean, real quick, in my younger days, I used to bounce in nightclubs. I got a fall tooth at the top. I got a bullet in my knee, and they couldn't never get all of it out. And I've been cut with knives. So that almost gave me a stroke. And my last comment is, what really might give me a stroke is, when is Mueller and some of these Democrats going to investigate the Hillary campaign and the DNC? For I know for a fact 2 people went to Ukraine, met with some Russians, and got dirt on Donald Trump. You don't hear bull crap about that. And my last comment, you know this, even if they did, collusion is not a crime. You know that already, political collusion. And so one more comment. I care about the economy, jobs, and national security. I don't give a rat's behind how many prostitutes and hookers Donald Trump may have slept with, or none of that on baloney. Look, keep up the good work. Thank you.
Yeah, it is what it is, and of course, everybody, you know, we have a right to I guess deal with those issues we want to deal with. How many moments do we have? All right, yeah, we got 3 minutes. Go ahead, caller.
I can say what I have to say in less than 3. Sister Deborah and Brother Darrell, good evening. Hey, you guys are having a power pack show. You know, I look at it like this here. If Moon Gerfont could get on and talk about those Democrats and all the ills that we have and President Obama, former President Obama and everything, you guys are doing a wonderful job. Keep bringing the news to the airways. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thank you. We definitely appreciate it. Now, you know, we definitely wanted to, I guess, converse about this issue of real leadership, because I think that it's what we need, and a lot of our people get thrown off by the false and fake leadership. Sister Deborah?
Well, because we don't have much time, I'm not gonna. I'll hold my comment.
Okay. Well, go ahead, caller. We're gonna go ahead and give you the final word. Go ahead.
up, brother? How brother Dawes, Sister Deborah? How's
Oh,
everything
Reverend
going?
White, how you
Reverend
doing?
White.
Boy, this is nothing but power on this line. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir, I've heard that. Yeah, well, I look, man, look, we are truly grateful, man, for what is going on with the documentary. Also, we're grateful that now we've been on a promotion blitz.
Let me mention this, brother.
week.
Let me mention this. From 7 to 9 p.m. On the Discovery Channel on tomorrow, from 7 to 9 p.m., the documentary Sugartown. Make sure you tune in. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. You know, so we've been promoting. Now we're in New York. We'll be on HLN tomorrow, service shows, and a radio podcast tomorrow, encouraging people all over the world to watch. Man, we so grateful for you all, man, because y'all stuck with it the whole while.
Yes, sir.
So truly, you know, you, Sister Khadijah, Brother Jay, Sister Deborah, man, there's just so many, man, Temple, everybody, man, there's so many people that we cannot thank enough, you know, man, that is what has happened, that it has brought to this point, you know. So we was at the National Black Journalists Association yesterday in Detroit, Michigan, and man, I tell you, it was powerful. They got a chance to screen some of it, man. It was powerful there. Very emotional for us, my family. It's still very emotional to even take a look at it. But man, we want to encourage people to come out, take a look. We want to encourage people to get on there and watch it and see Louis Alcott. Let them see the truth for themselves. So you get a chance to see the truth because, man, that film crew, Stephen David Entertainment, as well as Investigation Discovery Channel, man, is an excellent job. It is an excellent job.
Well, thank you, brother. We definitely appreciate it. And of course, we're about to close out. We want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Community Defender Talk Show. And of course, we look forward to seeing you at our next episode. May God continue to bless you and your family in the knowledge of Him. All right. There we go.
There we go.
There we go. Another one in the can.